If you're struggling and wanting to make more money, improve your sleep, improve your health, improve your flexibility, start a business, basically anything that's beneficial to you, this video is for you. So today we're going over how fixing your foundations increases every aspect of your life. So these are the 5 biggest problems that you're facing. The first is inconsistency and short burst motivation. So normally you'll be diving into new routines or goals with energy, but it only lasts a few days. When life gets in the way, motivation fades and you give up, moving on to the next quick fix. Each false start chips away at your confidence. The second is chasing the peak instead of building the base. You only picture the dream body, the career, the lifestyle, but you skip the steps that it actually takes to get there. You throw yourself in at full speed, burn out quickly, and never build the foundations needing for lasting results. The third is lacking clarity and direction. You know you're not where you want to be, but you're unsure on what success really looks like. Instead of following your own path, you chase what looks good to others and end up spinning your wheels. The fourth, your constant comparison of yourself to others. You look around, you feel behind, you compare yourself to others. You feel less disciplined, less successful. To keep up, you do what you think you should be doing, not what actually matters to you. The more you compare, the further you drift away from yourself. Number 5 is you keep running on empty. You wake up tired, you fuel yourself with caffeine, and you collapse at night. Stress is constant, sleep is poor, and you're always exhausted. Slowing down feels like failure, so you keep pushing with no energy left for real change. Focusing on quick fixes of dopamine, which don't work. If you recognize any of these blockages, don't worry. This is exactly what this video and this video series is about. At this time, I want you to drop your 3 most important goals. Don't think about them, just write them in the comments below and commit to them publicly. The thing is, this isn't a fix which is in pill form or in a potion or in a planner. But if you're ready to actually feel better, achieve what you want to achieve and level up, you have to be willing to put in the effort and show up daily. This is a 5-part series where we're focusing on the foundations today, the goals for number 2, control for number 3, habits for number 4, and we're doing a self-review for number 5. So if you want to stay up to date with that, subscribe below. It really does help us out and the channel. So what are the foundations? What are we looking at? What are all these here? So we'll start at the bottom. We have nutrition, consumption, technology, movement, relationships, and sleep. These are the pillars to life. I use foundations and I use pillars interchangeably. So with these, I'll explain them in a little bit more detail later on, but these are the ones that we're having to focus upon. When these are working, your life's working. When they're in chaos, everything's in chaos. And I can guarantee, if you follow each step and put in at least partial effort, you will see change. You'll feel happier, healthier, and more content with yourself. So, starting us off, we're working our way into why bother listening to me? What's the purpose? Why even listen? The day before my 21st birthday, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition called rheumatoid arthritis. With that, it severely impacted my ability to walk, and the doctor said there was a chance that I'll never be able to ever walk again. With this, I was playing sports 6 days a week. My identity was involved in this, and I didn't have the best coping strategies to deal with this news. When I got this news, I also achieved what was my dream job in London. It was a high pressure job, which actually led me to some severe burnout and lots of bad coping strategies. London is a place that is not for the faint of heart, and for me, it was a mixture of enjoyment, high highs and quite low lows. And when it did come to a forefront and my job asked me to return back to London, because during COVID I went back to Australia, I said no. I said that it wasn't needed and wasn't a part of my future. I knew that it was something that I needed to move on from. And in that same week, I lost my partner as well. I don't know if it was a conflicting interests, but I lost my job, my life direction, and my partner. So I was completely lost and completely at rock bottom. And with that, I decided that there was a few ways to deal with it. I could either go back to my old coping strategies, so my drinking, my smoking, my partying, everything in between. Anything that you think is a negative coping strategy, I probably have tried it. And I just realized that there wasn't any reward in that. Maybe I should try something completely different. So with this, I started trying to deal with my mental health in more of a positive way. So I started getting in the ocean. For me, that was a massive thing, cold water therapy. I've got a little video which you can watch up in the right-hand corner where I describe how Wim Hof actually really helped my journey. And not only was it beneficial getting in for my physical health and moving for my inflammation, which is the cold water down here, the physical and mental health benefits were just immense. I stopped drinking heavily, moved away from these negative coping strategies. I stopped being around negative people who didn't have the best interest for me, and alcohol kind of matched that. I focused on my sleep and moving my phone away from my bedside table so that I could have a better sleep with better coping strategies and I didn't just endlessly scroll. Focused on reading books to expand my knowledge, to increase my better coping abilities. And as I said before, with the ocean, my cold water came into it. And within that, Wim Hof, through my physical and mental health, I found meditation, journaling, breath work, and everything in between helps carry me through. So now I am no longer arthritis. I am arthritis free. I no longer have to take my medication. I was taking handfuls of pills for my inflammation, for my pain. Felt like I was walking on broken bones. It was really not a good time. To now using my psychology degree for purpose to also help people. And we've been lucky enough now to help over 1,000 people throughout Australia and New Zealand cope with their stress, mental health, and everything in between. That's where I found my purpose, and that's what we're doing at the moment. We've helped over 1,000 people, as I said, in private and corporate sessions, help with their struggles in life, their burnout, and find clarity of life direction. And this is where we've gone into. I've been able to help people with 30-day and 90-day transformations. So if that's something you're interested in, click the link below. And this is something that Jack has said, one of my previous participants. So he said, "Hi, it's helped me so much improving my mental well-being. I highly recommend them to anybody wanting to change their lifestyle." And if you're worried that you might be a little bit burnt out and not too sure and not wanting any help, privately one-on-one, there is a self-assessment quiz to see if you are burnt out. It's a link below. It gives you a score on how burnt out you actually are, and it gives you daily advice for 30 days to be able to deal with that burnout. And I highly recommend it if you're wanting something to test the waters. But if you are wanting real change and a real fix, my 30 days or 90-day intensive one-on-one private sessions can really help. So my approach is built on real-world strategies. For me, it's worked for myself, but it's also worked for others, which I can kind of lean into. But you overcome burnout, regain your energy, find clarity and purpose in your personal and professional life, and create sustainable change for long-term well-being. You develop habits that support your physical, mental, and emotional health throughout this journey. So if you're struggling to juggle the demands of your corporate career and personal life, if you're constantly feeling overwhelmed, stressed, and able to switch off, and you're battling burnout but unsure how to regain your energy and clarity, and wondering if life's meant to be lived this way, or chasing the next goal with no real sense of direction, these next 5 videos and my private one-on-one sessions can really help with that journey. You can see a few reviews from people down here as well. This course provided a lot of practical exercises to make you think more about your habits, your goals, and your values. It shows how little change can have a big impact. Thank you very much, Jerica. At this stage, you might be feeling a few blockages, which is completely reasonable. If you're anything like me, asking for help doesn't come easily. Maybe you're worried about what your friends or family will say. Maybe you're scared of what your colleagues might think. Or maybe that little voice in your head is shouting louder than ever, telling you not to rock the boat. But here's the truth. The fear keeps you stuck. It drains your energy, clouds your mind, and stops you from being your best self. This isn't your fault. It's hard to operate in this, but there is a fix. This is your life, your decisions, and your health. And if your current actions are holding you back, then something has to change. When you're overwhelmed, it's hard to make time for yourself, your health, and life. So we need to focus on supporting ourselves from our foundations up. And this is what this video and the framework is all about, working on our foundations to help support us and bring ourselves up. So ask yourself, if the people around you truly want what was best for you, wouldn't they support you taking that step forward? Because I know they should. And if you're stuck with bad coping strategies, this framework gives you a clear path forward. So what is the framework? What is this all about? First off, we have to make sure we have this three-part framework is understanding, reviewing, and actioning. So first off, we have to understand where we are at. We have to have the knowledge on what it is important and why it is important to do so. We have to review on what's helping versus hurting us. And then we need to take small actions to build that momentum. For so many people, and myself included, all I wanted to do was jump in and do the action that would create the biggest consequence. But this isn't a quick fix. This takes time, energy, and effort. So what can you do? What is it all about? How does this work? So the pillars of life, which are sleep, nutrition, movement, relationships, and technology, all impact ourselves. And ourselves are made up of brain chemicals, emotions, mood, all these fun things around us here. So all these things impact how we perceive reality, how we perceive our emotions, how we perceive others, and they impact our decisions, our outputs into the world. And our outputs directly cause correlation back to our sleep, back to our nutrition, back to our movement, back to our relationships, and back to our use of technology, which then infers it back to ourselves, back to our brain chemicals, and the cycle continues. This cycle can either be made positive or it can be made negative. And at the end of the day, most of these decisions are based upon what you can control, not what others dictate, but what you can control. And for me, that was the biggest cause of my growth, of realizing that I had control in all these aspects of my life. Even if I didn't think I did, even if I think I didn't, I did. So why? If you're not taking care of your foundations, you look for short-term fixes to fill the emotional and chemical void. Smoking, drinking, one-night stands, and scrolling. Everyone's favorite functions. So let's look at one particular node and see how it has this impact. So this is our negative node. So start off, we're not getting enough sleep. What happens to our bodies? Your body's ability to function chemically gets impacted. Your body's ability to heal and repair. So your body flushes whenever we sleep a lot of our chemicals in our brain. It also helps with our muscles. It helps with our tendons. So many things occur. And your body's ability to make decisions. When you are sleep deprived, you make terrible decisions. The study showed that people who are sleep deprived are worse and more dangerous in a car than people who are drunk. So when your body's ability to function chemically gets impaired, you might make stupid decisions like messaging your ex, or you might feel so tired that you're late to work. Late to work at 60. I don't know why I wrote at 60, but you get late to work. You're 60 minutes late. When your body's ability to heal and repair gets blunted, you might scroll in your bed and not focus on that energy because you might feel sick and uncomfortable or sore. So you don't move from the couch, you don't move from your bed. And when you make bad decisions and your ability to make decisions get impacted, you might order takeout. You might not go for that walk and go to the gym, which then makes you order more takeout, which makes you feel worse. And the cycle continues. Because what affects our body and our chemicals in our brain also affects our decisions. So, what is the inverse? What is the positive? When you get enough sleep, your body's ability to function chemically is improved. Your body's ability to heal is improved. And your body's ability to make decisions is improved as well. So, your choices through the day improve. You might not text your ex. You might make a better decision. You might not speak to your boss in that condescending tone, or you might not send that risky email. You make actions and decisions that help the long-term version of yourself. Yes, that is important when we're feeling good. We make decisions based upon our long-term version and we're not looking for quick fixes. When you feel good, you choose to move, walk, and go to the gym. Because we have that motivation with the energy to do so, our body is in a process where it allows us to make that decisions that are better for us. So when you're sitting on the couch, you know that's not going to make you feel good. So you're going to go for a walk instead. And you have that ability to be able to get off the couch. You proactively organize dinner, which saves you money. You put your phone down earlier and you go to sleep, continuing the positive loop. When you feel good, you sleep good, and then actions speak consequentially. For me, I love this analogy of a pirate ship. So imagine you're Captain Jack Sparrow. You've got this amazing pirate ship, you've got this crew, but let's go through these consequences. Before you set sail for the treasure, let's take into account, have you organized your food? No. Are there holes in the sails? Yes. Do you have a map? No. Is the mast broken? Yes. That will organize into chaos. If none of these are organized, chaos will occur. But if you've organized the food, you've repaired the sails, you've got a map, your mast isn't broken, order will continue. And that's the thing that we're having to remind ourselves of. We are basically just big ships. We need to make sure that we take care of ourselves from cleaning, from repairs, from organizations. If the crew gets a terrible sleep the night before, getting to their destination will be terrible and hard and nearly impossible, especially if you don't have a fucking map. So that's the importance of why we need to make sure our priorities and our pillars of our life are important. So these are our pillars in a little bit more detail. Whoop. I love these little GIFs if they want action. So starting off, we've got our nutrition. So the nutrition here is what we eat and what we drink. So what we have for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, everything in between, and what we consume. So drinking also refers to our, not just alcohol, but how much water we're drinking, how much coffee. These things have a carry-on effect. Consume, many of you might be thinking, isn't consuming nutrition the same thing? Very similar, but a little bit different. Consumption is also based upon what you put in through your eyes, your ears, and through your mouth. So the music that you're listening to. For so many of us, when we're feeling sad, we might listen to sad music, which is okay for part. But when we're listening to sad music for a long period of time and keeping ourselves in that feeling of sadness, it's not beneficial. So making sure we have happy music playing, we're not listening to dreary music, and we're not also listening to, that gangster rap music, which might make us feel certain things. The news as well, for so many people, keeping up with the news is important, and I think that is completely valid. But do you really need to know about this stabbing that happened in a certain situation of a different part of the country that has no relation to you? Does that provide you any value, or does that make you feel scared? And substances. Substances of consumption could be nicotine, could be dopamine, could be illicit substances. It could be consuming too much nicotine, too much caffeine. These things all have a correlation effect on sleep. Sleep. What is your wake-sleep cycle looking like? Are you waking up at an appropriate time? Consistently. Consistency with sleep is vitally important because your body is able to produce melatonin and excrete certain chemicals that keep us awake when we need to be awake and asleep when we need to be asleep. So making sure we have consistency with our wake and our sleep. And that is dictated upon our blue light. Blue light comes from our screens, our phones. Are we making sure that we're not scrolling in bed? Are we making sure we're not eating in bed? Because if we're associating those feelings and thoughts with the comfort of bed, then the recipe for sleep gets misconstrued. Gets all messed up. Moving on to movement. So movement isn't just going to the gym, people. That's what the traditional phase of movement would be. It's walking, it's stretching, it's the traditional movement of gym or going for a swim. Are we incorporating any form of movement into our days? We're living a very sedentary life. We're sitting on couches, we're sitting on desks. Are we taking the stairs when we can be taking an escalator? Are we getting our groceries compared to getting them delivered? Are we walking to the bus stop compared to Ubering from the bus stop? Stretching is vitally important as well to our body, but also to our ability to de-stress. Having a deeper connection to our body through walking, stretching, and traditional, gymming and movement is vital. And moving on to our relationships, onto our friendships, our families, how's our relationships to strangers, and our work relationships. For so many of us, our work relationships are what dictate so many hours of our life. Are we having terrible negative relationships at work? Are we treating strangers correctly? The family that we have, yes, family is difficult, I give you that, but are we speaking to them in a loving tone? Are they speaking to us? Do they respect us? Do we respect them? Are there conversations that need to be have? And same for our friends. For a lot of our relationships within work and friendships, these two down here, These dictate so many of our aspects of what our movement is, what our sleep looks like, what we consume, and our nutrition. Because if we have friends who just sit at the pub all day, we probably don't have the best sleep. We probably don't have the best nutrition. We probably don't have all the right things to make us feel better. Same for work. If work drinks every evening are a certain thing, are we having one? Are we having 20? Maybe having a look at that to see how that impacts us is vitally important. And for me, technology has been something that's popped up every single time within my one-on-one sessions. So many people are struggling with their phone use. TV and computers, I think there's a little bit more of a disconnect there. You kind of have the idea that you're wanting to use it for either entertainment or for work purposes or to connect with other people. But our phone is our little black box that keeps us hooked. We scroll when we shouldn't be scrolling. We look at it when we shouldn't be looking at it. And for so many of us, if we fix our phone use, that will have a cascading effect on our sleep, on our nutrition, on our movement, and everything in between, because it's taking up too much of our time. So those are the pillars or the core foundations of our life. These are what hold us up. These are our foundations of our building. So how do we review them? This is our system, my system. So with this, we have our sleep, our diet, which is our nutrition, consumption, movement, socializability, which is our relationships. And this is where we'd have our phone use. The first step of this is to give them a score out of 10. So on a piece of paper or on your phone or computer, I want you to write sleep, diet or nutrition, movement, consumption, socialization, relationships, and our technology or phone use. So with this, I want you to score it. This has to be a generalization, not what it's like when we're on holiday, not what it's like on our weekends, what it's like across the span of a generalized, normalized week currently, not last week, not this week coming up, or what we want to do in the future, what it is now. So I'll give you a few moments. Welcome to pause the video and take some time to give them a score out of 10. 1 is completely terrible, like ground zero, nothing to, like anything is an improvement from then. 10 out of 10 is it's perfect. There's absolutely no way for any improvement to be. So that's step 1. Step 2 is I want you to list everything that you possibly could do to fix or to improve your score. They could be ridiculous requests. It could be getting a private chef or hiring a personal trainer that like works out in your home gym. These things could be so outlandish, so ridiculous, but list every possibility you have. When speaking to clients, sometimes they forget that they have the ability to quit their job, move to Nicaragua, start a coaching business as a surf instructor, and eat, eat starfish. But that's the thing is, you have to think outside the box for certain activities, and these are one of those things. Consume, think, what aspects could help you. For me, I've written down 3 aspects: consumption, sleep, and movement, giving them a random score of 8. And I've got 3 options for both, but you probably will have a lot more. So pause the video, write as many as you can, come back when you are ready. So consumption. Limiting your consumption of coffee. For me, I can only have 1 coffee a day. When I have more than that, I start feeling disgusting. So limit yourself to 1 coffee a day. Consumption of alcohol. Yes, that's probably more on the nutrition side, but consumption of alcohol. I'm only going to drink on Fridays and Saturdays. That's it. If you're struggling with that, trying to put in some consumption. Maybe you're also struggling with nicotine or struggling with vaping. Maybe you can try nicotine gum. Yes, some people will say this, some people will say that. Maybe you tried it before and it didn't work. What we have to do is we have to keep throwing the bowling ball down the alleyway until we get a strike. Maybe you threw the ball down the alley on the left and then it went in the gutter. Doesn't mean you will never throw it ever that side ever again. We just have to keep going over and over, making sure we keep trying. For our sleep, these things I absolutely love. Charging your phone away from your bedside table. I preach this and I live by this to an absolute solidity because it works for me and it works for so many people. If you can move your phone away from yourself, and as not a charger, not as an alarm, but even if you leave it as an alarm, you get out of bed to turn it off. It means that you get out of bed when you're meant to get out of bed. If you're struggling to get to bed on time, maybe putting a timer or an alarm on for every night at a certain time, let's say 10 p.m. So your phone goes off, you know to charge it away from your bedside table, you have your shower, you do that thing. And buying blackout curtains. So many studies show that even a small amount of light impacts your circadian rhythm. So making sure you're in complete darkness or at a certain amount, that might even look like getting some glasses, sleep mask, earplugs, whatever works for you. This, as I said, this list can be endless. And then the movement. Maybe you hire a personal trainer or you go to a new gym, you work out with a friend. These are actions that we can do to improve our ability for incorporating movement. Maybe hiring a PT is out of your budget. Maybe going to a new gym is not in your budget. But maybe going to a park with your friend and doing some shuttle runs or playing football or taking some Sunday league sports could be fun. So after you've written them all down, I want you to do third step, which is picking your top 3. So we've already picked, these will generalize the 3 picks that we'll pick from. I want you to pick 3 actions of those. So within this, we're going to only drink on Saturdays. And then we're going to put an alarm on for our 10 p.m. bedtime. I'm going to work out with a friend. Those are the 3 actions that we'll be doing. And I need those actions to actually have an action to do. We can't just want to only drink on Fridays and Saturdays. We can only want to put an alarm on for our phone. We can only want to work out with a friend. We need to make sure that we can do something at this very moment without hesitation to actually make sure that occurs. So what we're going to do is step 4 is action that thing right now. On Fridays and Saturdays, what you can do is you can tell your friend group, hey guys, by the way, I can't drink on Wednesday and Thursday, but I'll come for drinks on Fridays and Saturdays. Tell your friendship group. If they turn around and call you a pussy or they treat you terribly, maybe it's a good sign to look at your friends. Make other plans for that time. That, I would say, is vitally important. Maybe sign up to a new gym class or maybe you go to the theater, but making plans on the days which tend to be a little bit harder can be really beneficial. And put reminders on your phone. They can look like a myriad of different things, and I'll show you what I mean by reminders. Moving down to making sure that we go to bed at a reasonable time. Putting an alarm on our phone, but also maybe on a smart clock. Maybe you can set your smart speaker to go off, or maybe you can get all your lights to turn a different color. Add sticky notes next to the mirror. Remind yourself why you're doing these actions because it's important to know why we are doing these things. And yes, it might feel uncomfortable to begin with, but at the end of the day, is the priority doing the action of feeling better, of sleeping better, of eating better, or of maybe having an uncomfortable conversation with your housemate because he's like, why the hell is that a sticky note? Movement, working out with a friend. Maybe we can message one of our friends. Maybe we can join their gym so that we have an ability to work out with them in a certain place. Or maybe we can go for a trial. You have friends who work at F45 or PT only gyms, or maybe they do CrossFit gyms and those things in between. But maybe it's worth trying to see if that works better for you. And you never know, might be worth spending that money. So step 5 is setting reminders. We need to constantly remind our brain why we're doing these actions because we have an ability to forget the reason that we do this. It's a good thing because if you remember every part of our brain and every aspect of our day, your brain would be overloaded. So we need to remind ourselves through alarms on our phones or speakers or anything between, sticky notes, reminders in a general sense, placed anywhere that you need to. Texting friends, you can use that as like social support. Calendar notifications, if you're set into using your calendar and just placing it in obvious locations. For me, this is what it started with. Back when I was sick, back when I was absolutely at rock bottom, I had a positive affirmations of what I wanted to do. I had a to-do list. I had a what, why, when, where information board on how and why I was doing the things I was doing, a daily plan, and then I had a a little note to myself to read out loud to remind myself why I was doing this. I will work hard at working out every day, reading every day, eating healthy every day, further progressing in my freelance business every day, developing my mind, body, and soul every day. I shall grow and succeed. Because I've got an activity for you. And if you see my other videos, you might have already done it, but I want you to look around now, scan the room that you're in, and look at everything that's green. Look at everything that's green. Now close your eyes. Tell me everything blue that you saw. Probably quite hard. When you view only the negatives or only the positives, that's what you see. So if all you're doing is focusing on the negatives, time to change them to the positives. And yes, might be a little bit cringy, but it works. It's called observational bias. And if we can do it, why not? Let's do it. And step 6, we need to aim for consistency because we can do this once. We can message a friend once, we can go to the gym once, we can set an alarm once. It might not work, but small actions showing up daily, they do compound. 1% better every day. If it doesn't work, keep trialing. If you go into a bowling alley and throw the ball down and don't get a strike straight away, does that mean you suck at bowling? No, it just doesn't mean, it just means that you haven't thrown the ball down enough. And for so many people, these have been actioned, but so many people think it is motivation, action, reward. So you feel motivated, so you action and go to the gym, you're rewarded by having an amazing workout. But it's actually action, motivation, reward. Why? Because if we go and do an action like going to the gym, we then have a higher chance of feeling motivated of staying there and continuing that reward. So need to make sure that we break these down into small achievable goals. What did that look like for me? For me, my goals started as improving my sleep by removing my phone from my bedside table. That was one thing that I knew I could do instantly. If I could move my phone away, that means I wouldn't scroll before bed, and it wouldn't mean that I'd grab it immediately. Also, if the alarm went off, I'd have to get out of bed. I actioned one movement a day. That was a walk around the block or lifting one weight. So maybe I'd go in, I'd do a bicep curl, and then I'd leave. But surprise, surprise, the hardest part is showing up, getting your clothes on, getting the gym clothes on, and getting out there and doing it. So I actioned one movement a day. The same for my knowledge. I knew that I wanted to improve my sleep. I knew that I wanted to improve my nutrition and everything in between. So what the best way was to find either YouTube videos or read books about it. Breath by James Nestor, 4-Hour Work Week, all these things that just bridge the gap of knowledge to what you actually wanted to do. So I put myself to a challenge of reading 1 page a day. But I most of the time would read more. And writing 1 sentence a day in journal or reflection or even an activity like this. So as you saw in my previous posts up here, these are the things that I would do, these activities, whenever I would need time to reflect. And that's the big thing. We need to make sure that we're setting ourselves on these sorts of activities to make sure that we can keep on journeying, seeing what works and what doesn't. For some people, journaling just doesn't work for them. But for other people, meditation does, because they have the ability to have introspection. And that's what you need. You need a balance of physical health, mental health, and progression. Moving through that starts your foundations. Also, if you are wanting to make some serious change and you're ready to make change, I do offer a 30-day and 90-day comprehensive course that goes over foundations, habits, and everything in between. So this does come with a 100% money back guarantee. So you'll either gain clarity on your goals, reduce your stress, feel less burnt out, or you don't pay a single dollar. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And that is my ultimate promise to you, because it's worked for me and it's worked for so many others as well. For down here, we have Laura. Great course, have already recommended to others for your next intake. It's covered a lot of areas I needed to work on. The one-on-one sessions were fantastic, so helpful, completely not judgmental, and delivered with a calm, open mind. I really got tools to help me cope with stress and future challenges. You're welcome to have a look over a few of these testimonials. There is a link at the top of the description you're welcome to touch base with. Also, if you're struggling with anything, comment below. I'm happy to help. reach out to me by email, Instagram, DM, and anything in between. Part 2 of our goal setting coming out shortly as well. So if you're wanting to take the next step and figure out your goals after figuring out your foundations, click the video link here. It'll go through everything that you need to know about goal settings. So looking forward to doing that.